We've moved into a new house recently, most of you know, and it's got different sounds and different noises. And one night I was laying in bed, and asleep, and I woke up to hearing noises, and it was like these creaking noises, and I kept thinking as I'm laying there, our house is going to slide off the side of this hill. I was sure that we were going down the side of the hill, and so I wanted to be ready, and I wanted to be prepared. Okay, if the house goes off the side of the hill, what do I do? What do I grab? Do I grab pajamas, and do I put pajamas on first? Do I grab my husband? Do I wake up my husband? Do I grab my cell phone? Do I call 911? I just want to be prepared, ready and prepared. What do I do? Or if a burglar breaks in at the old house, I knew where I was going to hide. I knew a good hiding spot in the old house. But in this house, I kept thinking, I don't know if I know a good hiding spot, or could I get to it fast enough, because under the bed isn't a good hiding spot, because I know to look. In all the movies, they always look under the bed. So I thought, okay, that's not a good hiding spot. But nothing ever plays out exactly like you think it's going to when you play out those scenarios in your mind. When you think you're ready and prepared, nothing ever plays out like it's supposed to. And so I was thinking about this a lot, about being ready and being prepared, and scenarios not playing out like you thought. And a lot of you know that over the last couple of weeks we've traveled a lot, and that's not normal in our house. We made 2 trips down to California back to back. And the first trip was, while it was a lot of fun seeing our son, it didn't go real well. Our trip to the airport, we got held up for 8 hours. We were, got held up in security. I mean, everything just went wrong that could go wrong. So by trip number 2, I was going to be really ready and really prepared. Mike got home from work early. We had to go in for a Friday night flight, so I was going to make sure that we were on time. We weren't going to get stuck in traffic. We had to run to the bank quick on our way to the airport, and we were going to go. Mike's driving. We were at a big, huge intersection right before our bank, and over out of the corner of my mind, I see a woman in a wheelchair at the intersection waiting to cross. And so we go to the bank. We're now leaving at that same intersection, going a different direction, and out of the corner of my eye, I see kind of like she's mouthing something to me. But I'm thinking, no, I'm sure she's not. Come on, we got to go. The light will change green, and we're just going to go. And now we're about the 3rd car back. And so I think, okay, it's a woman with a disability, and she's in a wheelchair. I want to be politically correct. I'm certainly not going to stare. But I think I see something again. No, I'm sure I'm wrong. Well, now we're the 1st car in the line. There's a million cars. It's Friday night. We've got to get to the airport. And I think I see something again. But I just think, look away. Just look away. Don't look. Look away. You're going to be late to the airport. You've done everything you can to be ready and prepared. You're not going to be late this time to the airport. And now Mike sees it too. Laurie, I think that woman is trying to say something to you. Mike, come on. We're going to be late to the airport. And the light's going to turn green. And there's all these cars behind it. I'm sure that you're wrong. Besides, she was sitting there 20 minutes ago when we came to the bank. I'm sure that she's not, is what went through my head. And so quickly I glanced out, and sure enough, she was trying to say something to me, as clear as a bell, like the man yelling with the big orange tube in Home Depot. And she's mouthing to me, help, can you help me? And I was horrified, and we were driving around in our son's truck because we were going to leave that at the airport. And I jumped out of the truck, and a strap on her wheelchair was tangled up in one of the wheels underneath it. And she had lots of tubes and all these different things. And I climbed under the wheelchair, and it was drizzly and rainy, and I was trying to untangle it, and she had a hard time communicating. And the bottom line is we got her untangled. And then I was so horrified that I didn't even want to leave her. And I hugged her, and I apologized for it taking me so long to see that she was in distress. And then I didn't want to leave, and are you sure you're okay? And the only emotion that she had was her one thumb that could control the remote. And she assured me that she could get the chair to move back and forth, and we went on our way. I got back in the car, and we left. But I thought for that brief moment, how in the world can we race through life so quickly that I could have even justified for a second leaving that woman in the wheelchair at that busy intersection on a Friday night? With everything I had, I made a million excuses. We're in a hurry. I've got to get to the airport. I mean, you don't understand. It's Friday night and it's traffic. That's what I justified. And I think we often can do that. Several years ago, there was an interview with Donald Trump, the big media tycoon, and he's, everyone knows who Donald Trump is. And in this interview, he said some interesting things. He said he was having a milestone birthday, and I don't know what number it was, but he said, sometimes I think it was a mistake to have raced through it all so fast. What's the next level up? The grass isn't always greener. I work and I don't worry. How can you top that? I protect myself as well as anybody can. I prepare for things and I'm ready. But ultimately, we all end up going. I don't know where I'm going. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in reincarnation. But we have to be going somewhere. I just can't figure out for the life of me where it is. I guess the Donald's comment had me a little confused. He says he's ready and he's prepared, but I have to ask, what is he prepared for? I read that he was worth $3.5 billion. He makes $60 million a year. But what does he use his talents and his gifts for? I don't think anybody would argue that he's done some probably pretty impressive things for sure. I thought about his wives, his first wife, his second wife, his third wives, and I figured they probably have some pretty impressive things to show for all of that money. But I would have to question, what has he used those talents and those gifts for? Jesus teaches us in this next parable that we're about to study that the greatest use of your life is to invest it in that which outlasts it. I'm going to say that again. The greatest use of your life is to invest it in that which outlasts it. We're about to take a look at what I think might be one of the most practical parables that we've looked at yet. It applies to our lives because it shows us how God acts and reacts to us, and how we act and react to God, how we act and react to the blessings that he's given us. In this parable, Matthew 25:14 through 30, it's kind of a long one, and so I'm going to summarize it in a few sentences, but I'd love for you to turn in your Bibles with me if you'd like. Jesus says that the master was getting ready to go on a long journey, doesn't he? And so he calls 3 of his servants. And again, we don't know how many servants he had, but he called 3 of them. He distributes his talents, his wealth among them. And he distributes them according to their abilities, it says. And he leaves. He comes back. And when he comes back, he wants an accounting of what they've done with him. Those that he invested wisely, he rewards, and those that did not invest, he condemns. And essentially, that's the parable. Like usual, we're gonna break this down a little bit, and I see several principles here right off the bat. The master's going on a long journey, and he distributes his wealth. Everything we have is God's. The master distributed his wealth. Everything we have belongs to God. It doesn't belong to us. The master gave them his wealth, right? He's given me some talents. He's given you some talents. He expects us to use the talents. He expects us to use what he's given us. We hear that right off the bat in this parable. Because we've always lived away from the kids' grandparents and pretty much all of our relatives, they've always tried to be really creative with things that they could order and send to the girls, and our son too, but the girls especially early on. And so they started early ordering them these dolls called American Girl dolls. And our oldest daughter, we have a lot of space between the girls, so our oldest daughter is 6 years older than the next one, and then our son is 6 years younger than the middle one. So Erica got the first doll, the Samantha doll. These are time period dolls. and they come with books that go along with them, and a lot of fancy different things from the time period that the doll has. So clothes and furniture and just decorations and all different things. So Erica gets Samantha, and it's beautiful, and Samantha has beautiful clothes. She's, I think, from like 1904. She's a Victorian girl, and she has a cello, and her coats and clothes are velvet. You can kind of see, I took pictures of her stuff, velvet with fur, rabbit fur, and she's just fancy and pretty. She even had a cello that has real strings that you would play. And Erica always was changing Samantha's clothes and always setting up Samantha. But Erica never wanted to play with Samantha. Erica never wanted to share Samantha. She only wanted Samantha to be on her shelf in her room looking beautiful. And Emily would always come in and try, she coveted Samantha. And Emily would go in and try to steal Samantha. And I remember going into Erica's room, and Emily would have chairs on top of Erica's bed with books on top of it trying to get down Samantha, and sometimes she'd get her brother in to help her, and the two of them would be in there trying to get Samantha down, and Erica would come screaming down, saying, "Mom, Emily's trying to get Samantha." You know, it was because she didn't want to share Samantha, she didn't want Samantha played with, she didn't want Samantha touched. She just wanted Samantha beautiful and arranged on the shelf. Finally, Emily got her own doll, Kirsten. Kirsten was a prairie girl, and she had linen clothes and a wood bed, and she wasn't as fancy or as pretty. But Kirsten was loved, and Kirsten was played with. Kirsten went to Disneyland with us. Kirsten went in the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. Kirsten went swimming with us. Kirsten went on vacation with us. Kirsten was in the car with us, in the grocery cart with us. Kirsten went everywhere. Kirsten's braids were immediately taken out. That's a picture of Kirsten up there. She's in not time period clothes because we found those clothes in Target or Goodwill. And that's kind of how the hair looked most of the time. Samantha had beautiful ruby red lips. Kirsten did not. Hers were pale and pink. So one time Emily came down with a Sharpie and says, "Mom, how do you get this kind of pen out of things?" And I thought, well, usually you use nail polish remover, not thinking. And all of a sudden, about 10 minutes later, I go running upstairs thinking, what's happening? And right over Emily's beautiful bed, she's pouring nail polish remover on Kirsten's face and then wiping it off. So on Emily's bedspread to this day, there's a nail polish remover spot with red on it from Kirsten getting smeared. Okay, so you get the picture. Kirsten was loved. Samantha was on a shelf. When the girls went off to college, Samantha got put in a box.